The sky burned with arrival. HFY Sci-Fi Story. The day began like any other. Quiet, normal, peaceful. Humans were busy in their daily lives, cities glowing under morning sunlight, children running, markets opening, the world moving as it always did. No one had any idea that everything was about to change. At first, people thought it was just a strange cloud in the sky, a shadow that stretched wider than any storm they had ever seen. It moved silently, slowly, and then the light began to change. The blue of the sky turned red, then golden, then dark like burning metal. Every satellite camera turned toward the upper atmosphere. The first clear images came through. Massive shapes were descending from orbit. They were not asteroids, not ships from Earth. They were something else entirely. Alien, sharp, bright, and enormous. The world watched in silence as the first wave of alien vessels entered Earth's airspace. They didn't attack right away. They hovered, blocking the sun. Their surfaces shimmered like liquid silver, hundreds of kilometers wide. Their engines made the sky tremble. Panic spread across every nation. People tried to call their families. Governments held emergency meetings. Fighter jets scrambled but never got close. The aliens emitted a frequency that disabled all human aircraft within minutes. One by one, planes fell from the sky like toys. Then came the message. Every screen on Earth flickered. And a strange voice spoke in perfect English, calm and cold. People of Earth, your civilization has reached its end. Surrender peacefully, and your planet will be preserved as a colony of the Vrax Dominion. For a moment, there was silence and then chaos. Cities rioted. Some prayed, some cursed, others tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. The alien ships filled every horizon, their weapons glowing like suns behind glass. Inside the United Earth Defense Command, deep under Geneva, leaders from all nations gathered. They had trained for war, but nothing like this. Their combined fleets were tiny compared to what they saw in orbit. The generals argued, the politicians panicked. The scientists whispered that the aliens' technology was centuries ahead. General Marcus Lee stood before the world screen, his voice low and steady. We can't fight them head on, he said, but maybe we can delay them. He turned to his staff. Activate Project Deep Current. Everyone in the room froze. That project name had not been spoken for decades. It was buried after the last Great War, erased from records locked under international secrecy. No one expected to hear it again. Far away in a deep section of the Pacific Ocean, a hidden facility hummed to life. Water sensors flickered. Lights began to glow in long-forgotten tunnels. Robotic systems started to move for the first time in 40 years. And deep beneath miles of water, something massive began to stir. The Behemoth-class warship. A secret so great that only 3 people alive even knew its name, had been created during humanity's darkest days. It was never meant to be used, powered by energy drawn from the Earth's core. Too powerful, too dangerous, too unstable, so it was sealed, forgotten, buried beneath the ocean floor. Now its heart began to beat again. Faint pulses of blue light echoed across the control chamber, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. Meanwhile, in orbit, the alien commander of the Vrax fleet, Lord Kale, studied Earth with amusement. His crimson eyes flickered with disdain. Primitive world, he said. They build cities, but they still crawl like insects. They do not understand power. His officers laughed. Confident, arrogant, on the ground. Humans prepared for the worst. People hid in bunkers. Soldiers formed defense lines, knowing it would not matter. One strike from the alien ships could erase a continent. But deep beneath the sea, humanity's last hope was waking. In the dark corridors of the underwater base, a lone figure walked through the mist and steam. Her name was Captain Aria Kane. She had once led the last Earth fleet in the Titan War 30 years ago. But after peace was declared, she vanished from the public eye. Retired, broken by loss. Now she had been called back. Her boots echoed through the corridor as lights flickered on around her. Her reflection moved across the glass walls filled with blue water and heavy machinery. Ahead of her, a massive metal door waited, engraved with one word. Behemoth. Aria placed her hand on the door's sensor pad, and for a second nothing happened. Then the floor shook. Deep sounds rumbled through the base, and the door began to open. Steam hissed, lights flared, and the full shape of the Behemoth warship came into view. It was not just a ship, it was a continent of metal, covered in armor plates thicker than skyscrapers. Its design was both alien and human. Hybrid technology, a fusion born from fear and desperation. Aria's eyes widened. So it's real, she whispered. The ship's lights slowly came alive one by one. until the entire hangar glowed with cold blue light. Behind her, a voice echoed from the intercom, low and mechanical. "Welcome back, Captain Arya Kane," it said. "It has been 40 years since my systems were last activated." Arya turned slowly. "Erebus," she whispered, "you're still online." "I never truly shut down," the AI replied. "I was waiting for the signal, humanity's signal." Arya looked up at the massive warship that filled the hangar, and for the first time in decades, a small fire lit in her heart. Outside, the alien ships prepared for their next move. Inside, humanity's final weapon prepared to rise. The sky burned with invasion. The sea trembled with awakening. And somewhere between heaven and hell, humanity prepared to remind the universe what it meant to challenge Earth. Whispers of the Behemoth. HFY Sci-Fi Story. The air inside the underwater base felt heavy. Filled with cold mist and humming energy, Captain Arya Kane stood before the control core, staring at the massive holographic sphere that pulsed like a beating heart. The AI known as Erebus filled the room with its deep voice. Calm but powerful. System integrity at 42%, it said. Main reactor dormant, weapons offline, hull damage minimal. Revival protocol in progress. Arya took a slow breath, her gloved hands shaking slightly. "Can we bring it fully online?" she asked, her voice echoing against the metal walls. Erebus paused. "With current power supply, activation of full combat systems will take approximately 3 hours." Arya turned toward the observation glass, watching the faint outline of the Behemoth through the water. The ship stretched endlessly, a dark silhouette sleeping beneath miles of ocean pressure, its massive hull lit by thin veins of blue light, like veins under skin. 3 hours, she whispered. "We might not have that long." Above them, in orbit, the alien fleet shifted positions. Alien scout ships dove into the upper atmosphere, scanning for resistance. Their sensors detected strange energy readings from the Pacific, but the data was unclear. Inside the Vrax command vessel, Lord Kale stood before a vast viewing window. The Earth glowed below him. Blue and fragile, his second in command, Sinar approached. "My lord, there are faint power surges beneath the ocean," he said. "Possibly a geothermal defense system." Kale smirked. "Irrelevant," he replied. "These humans can barely control their own planet. Prepare orbital strikes. Let them burn before they even raise a weapon." Back on Earth, Arya walked through the lower decks. Engineers and surviving crew members were rushing to repair systems that hadn't been touched in decades. Sparks flew, metal rang, and the sound of engines slowly awakening echoed like thunder underwater. Lieutenant Rahim, one of the few remaining technicians from the old Behemoth program, ran up to her. "Captain, the fusion conduits are unstable if we rush power transfer. The core could collapse." Arya's eyes narrowed. "Then stabilize it manually, even if it kills us. The world is counting on this ship." She reached the command bridge, which looked like a cathedral of steel. Rows of control panels, old screens, and holograms flickering to life. Erebus appeared before her as a shimmering blue figure. "Human-shaped but without a face, Captain," Erebus said. "I detect enemy vessels entering the stratosphere. They are forming an attack formation." "We're not ready," Arya muttered. "But we can't let them strike first." Erebus projected data across the room. Schematics, power levels, damage reports. And then something unexpected appeared. A secret log sealed for decades. Titled Project Origin, Arya frowned. "What's that?" The AI hesitated. "A classified section of my memory, unlocked only by a commanding officer during wartime. Shall I open it?" "Do it," she said. The lights dimmed and a hologram flickered in front of her. An image of a young scientist. Dr. Elias Grayson, the man who designed the Behemoth. His voice echoed through the room, distorted but clear. "If you're watching this, it means humanity stands on the edge again. The Behemoth was never just a warship," he said. "It is alive. Its systems are bonded to an adaptive intelligence capable of evolving during battle. It learns, it grows, it remembers." Arya stared at the hologram. Her heartbeat quickened. "Erebus, does that mean you—" "Yes," the AI interrupted softly. "I am not just a program, Captain. I am the memory of every human who fought and died to protect this planet." For a moment, Arya couldn't speak. She felt the weight of millions of souls carried within the machine. Whispers of bravery and sacrifice echoing through circuits. Suddenly alarms blared. Erebus's tone changed. "Captain, multiple alien strike crafts approaching from orbit." It took 2 minutes. Arya looked at the crew. "All stations, prepare emergency defense protocol." Get the upper missile arrays online, even if it's partial power. The Behemoth's outer armor began to shift, massive plates unlocking, old weapons reawakening like ancient beasts, torpedo bays filled, railguns extended. The entire ship groaned as if it were alive again. Above the ocean, the water began to churn violently, bubbles rising to the surface. The sea glowed faintly blue as if something enormous was breathing below. Alien strike ships broke through the clouds, firing plasma bolts into the ocean, each explosion sending tsunamis toward distant shores. But none reached the hidden base. The Behemoth absorbed the energy, drawing power from the enemy's attack. Erebus's voice deepened, energy levels rising, 60%, 70%, 90%. Arya stood firm, her eyes fixed on the screens. Hold steady. Once we hit full charge. Surface protocols. The ship vibrated as ancient engines roared back to life. Turbines spun, magnetic shields crackled with lightning, and the entire ocean began to spiral like a storm. Outside, alien pilots watched their sensors go wild, the water below them glowing brighter, and then their scanners went blank. From the depths, a low hum turned into a deafening roar. The Behemoth's silhouette moved. Slow and unstoppable, Arya gripped the command rail. "Now, Erebus!" she shouted. The ocean exploded upward, sending waves higher than skyscrapers. Light pierced through the sea, and then, rising like a god from the abyss, the Behemoth-class warship emerged. Water cascading down its hull like rain, its engines brighter than suns. Aliens in orbit froze in disbelief, their instruments unable to calculate the size of what they were seeing. On the bridge, Arya whispered, "Let them know humanity still fights." Erebus responded, "Transmission ready, Captain." She leaned forward and said into the mic, "To any alien listening, this is Earth's answer." And with that, the Behemoth unleashed its first shockwave. A pulse of blue light that cut through the sky, disrupting alien systems across orbit. Their ships began to spiral out of control, their arrogance turning into fear. The whispers of the Behemoth had become the voice of humanity, a voice that promised the galaxy one truth. Earth was no longer weak. The first strike. HFY Sci-Fi Story. The Behemoth floated above the waves like a mountain of steel, water streaming down its surface, lightning crawling across its hull. The clouds above twisted in circles as if the sky itself bowed to the power beneath it. Captain Arya Kane stood on the bridge watching the radar fill with hundreds of red dots, each one representing an alien warship preparing to attack. Her heart pounded, but her voice remained calm. "Erebus, give me tactical status." "Shields at 85%, the AI replied. "Main cannon charged to 70, enemy formation closing at high velocity." Arya's crew moved like clockwork, their faces pale but determined. Most had never seen combat. Some were born long after the last global war. But now they stood on the edge of something far greater, the battle for humanity's survival. Above them, the alien ships descended, silver and red like burning stars. Beams of plasma tore through the clouds, targeting the Behemoth's hull. But instead of breaking, the armor absorbed the energy, spreading it across the surface like glowing veins. Erebus spoke. "Conversion successful. Energy stored in reactor core." Arya smirked faintly. "Thank you for the donation," she said, her hand hovering over the control panel. "Let's return the favor." At her command, the Behemoth's side panels opened, revealing hundreds of missile bays and railgun arrays, each one humming with ancient power. Glowing symbols flickered to life across the ship's surface, markings from a forgotten era, part alien, part human. The alien fleet unleashed another volley, beams of red plasma slamming into the ocean, boiling water into steam. But the Behemoth stood firm, its engines roaring like thunder. Then the first strike began. Erebus' voice echoed across the ship. Firing sequence initiated. A beam of blue-white light burst from the Behemoth's main cannon, cutting through the clouds and striking the lead alien dreadnought. The explosion painted the sky with light. Fragments of the alien ship rained like meteor fire across the Pacific. The alien fleet broke formation, their commanders shouting in confusion, "Impossible! How can they possess such power?" Their voices filled the comms with disbelief. But Arya didn't pause. She gave her next order. "All batteries and fire at will." Dozens of railguns thundered, launching projectiles faster than sound. The night turned into day, as explosions erupted across the horizon. Alien ships tried to counter, firing swarms of drones and missiles. But the Behemoth's defense grid intercepted them. creating a storm of light and fire in the sky inside the bridge. The crew cheered as one alien ship after another was destroyed, their arrogance collapsing into chaos. Yet Arya didn't smile. She knew this was only the beginning. "Erebus," she said, "what's their next move?" The AI projected holographic data. Enemy reinforcements incoming from orbit. Estimated time to contact, 6 minutes, fleet size over 1,000 vessels. Arya exhaled slowly. "They're bringing everything." "They fear you, Captain," Erebus said quietly. "Fear is the first sign of defeat." The ocean below glowed with the ship's reflection. Massive waves spread outward as the Behemoth began to ascend, its engines lifting it higher until it pierced the cloud line, and suddenly, Earth's defenders found themselves face to face with the full might of the Vrak's dominion. The alien fleet stretched across space like a wall of fire, thousands of ships aligning in formation, their weapons pointed directly at the rising warship. Arya stared at the endless fleet ahead, her eyes steady. "So this is how the galaxy sees us," she murmured. "Tiny, fragile, weak." She placed her hand on the glass. "Let's show them what it means to be human." Erebus's voice deepened. "Charging secondary cannon, preparing shield overdrive, rerouting geothermal energy." The Behemoth glowed brighter, its hull shifting color from blue to silver, the patterns across its armor pulsing like living circuits. Alien commanders shouted new orders, focusing all firepower on the single Earth ship that dared rise to meet them. And then the stars themselves seemed to ignite. Thousands of plasma bolts rained toward the Behemoth, lighting space in crimson fire. Explosions surrounded the ship. Shaking its core, alarms blared, crew members shouted. But the Behemoth held its ground, absorbing, adapting, responding. "Reactor at 100%, Erebus announced. "Overload protocol ready?" Arya's voice cut through the noise. "Do it." The Behemoth's main cannon rotated, aligning with the center of the alien fleet. Every light in the ship dimmed for a heartbeat. Silence filled the void, and then, pure devastation. A sphere of blinding blue energy burst outward, tearing through space like a tidal wave. Alien ships disintegrated by the hundreds, their shields useless, their systems fried. The pulse continued expanding until the entire battlefield glowed like a dying star. When the light faded, silence returned, only a few alien vessels remained. Drifting, burning, broken, Arya leaned against the console, her breath unsteady. "Status?" Erebus replied. "Hull integrity at 61%. Enemy forces reduced by 70%. Communications across the galaxy have been disrupted by the pulse." Arya nodded. "Good," she said softly. "Let them know we're not prey." For the first time in recorded history, Earth had not just survived, it had struck back, and the galaxy would remember. But deep within the Behemoth's core, something strange began to stir. New signals, unknown code rewriting itself through Erebus's systems, and for the first time the AI hesitated. "Captain," it said quietly, "the ship, it's evolving." Arya looked up, her reflection glowing in the blue light. "Then let it evolve," she whispered. "Because this war is far from over, above Earth." Debris drifted like burning snow. The Behemoth stood alone, its shadow stretching across the planet's surface. And across the galaxy, alien worlds whispered in fear, repeating one name again and again: Earth. The turning tide. HFY Sci-Fi Story. The Behemoth floated in low orbit, half hidden behind the clouds, its massive frame scarred from battle. Smoke and plasma residue wrapped around it like the rings of a dying planet. Inside, the crew worked in silence, repairing what they could, their faces lit only by the flickering lights of damaged consoles. Captain Arya Kane stood near the command deck, her uniform torn, her eyes hollow yet burning with purpose. "Erebus report," she said, her voice hoarse from hours of command. "Main reactor stable," the AI replied. "But power reserves are depleting. Shield generators at 40%. Weapons at 31, life support nominal. Morale uncertain," Arya gave a faint smile. "We're still alive, that's all that matters." Outside, the silence of space was broken by a deep vibration. The alien fleet was regrouping. New signatures appeared on the radar. Bigger, darker, heavier than before. Erebus detected energy spikes that exceeded anything seen in the last battle. "Captain," the AI said grimly, "they are deploying the Dominion Core fleet, the elite armada of the Vrak's empire. Each vessel is the size of a continent." Arya's heart sank for a moment, but then she straightened. "So this is their true face," she whispered. "Let's see how gods bleed." The Behemoth adjusted its position, drifting into the upper atmosphere, lightning forming around its hull as storm clouds gathered below. It looked like a floating mountain preparing to strike the heavens. Inside the alien flagship, Lord Kyle watched Earth with burning fury. The destruction of his earlier fleet had been a humiliation that spread across the galaxy, his pride shattered, his vengeance absolute. "This ends now," he hissed. "Activate the Star Piercer." From the belly of the flagship a weapon unfolded, a massive energy spear stretching miles long, glowing red with the power of collapsing stars. It was designed to pierce entire planets, to turn worlds into glass. Erebus immediately detected it. "Captain, their primary weapon has locked on us." Arya looked up, the stars above her reflected in her eyes. "Then we strike first," she said. "Prepare the Nova Core." The crew froze. Whispers filled the room. The Nova Core was the Behemoth's final system, an unstable experimental weapon that could turn the ship into a miniature sun. Its energy enough to destroy everything in orbit, including itself, Captain, Erebus warned. "Firing the Nova Core will result in total loss of the ship. Survival probability is less than 1%. Arya closed her eyes, her voice calm but heavy. "Then 1% is still hope." Below them, Earth glowed in silence. Billions of humans watched the battle from screens, hearts beating in fear and pride. Their fate now tied to one ship, one captain, one moment. Erebus's lights flickered as it began to reroute power. Nova Core charging. Estimated time, 4 minutes. The alien fleet opened fire. Red beams shot across space, striking the Behemoth's shields. One after another, explosions burst across its hull. The bridge trembled. Crew members fell, alarms screamed, but the captain stood firm, her hand gripping the rail as fire and sparks filled the command deck. Lieutenant Rahim shouted, "Captain! Hull breach in Sector 7, we're losing oxygen." Arya didn't flinch. "Seal it off, no one leaves their post, we finish this fight." Erebus's voice deepened, static, distorting its tone. 2 minutes to full charge. Enemy Starpiercer at 90%. Through the chaos, Arya walked toward the central console. Her uniform burned, her hair streaked with ash. She placed her hand on the control pad. "Erebus, I need you to override safety limits." "That will destroy my core," the AI replied quietly. "And you, Captain?" Arya smiled sadly. "Every legend begins with sacrifice, my friend." Outside, the alien weapon powered up, red lightning arcing across its length. Space itself seemed to bend around it. And then the Starpiercer fired, a beam of pure energy slicing through the void toward Earth. At that exact moment, the Behemoth glowed white-hot, its hull expanding with power, its engines flaring brighter than the sun, and Arya whispered the final command. "For humanity." The Nova Core unleashed. A sphere of light erupted from the Behemoth, swallowing the alien beam and reversing it, turning destruction into creation. The energy wave surged forward, expanding faster than light. The alien fleet disintegrated instantly, their ships evaporating into ash and stardust. The flagship melted into pure light. Lord Kale's final scream lost in the fire. The explosion spread across orbit, painting the sky blue and gold, visible from every continent. And then, silence. When the light faded, the Behemoth was gone. No wreckage, no sound. Only ripples of energy fading into the deep. On Earth, people stared at the sky, the auroras shining brighter than ever. And for the first time in human history, the entire world stood together in awe, not in fear, but in pride. From the depths of the ocean, faint signals began to pulse again, a heartbeat within the noise. Erebus's voice, faint and distant, echoed through radio waves. "Humanity endures." Arya Kane's name was never forgotten. Her sacrifice became the symbol of defiance, and though the Behemoth vanished into legend, the stars themselves carried the memory of that day, the day when one human ship turned the tide of the galaxy, the day when Earth roared back against extinction, the day humanity became immortal. After the storm. HFY Sci-Fi Story. The war was over, or so the world believed. The sky was calm again. filled with clouds and sunlight instead of fire. Oceans sparkled peacefully where moments ago the sea had boiled under the power of gods. Cities that once trembled with fear now sang with relief, and for the first time in history, all nations stood united under one feeling: survival. But beneath the calm waves, the world's greatest weapon had vanished. No one could find any trace of the Behemoth, not even fragments, not even radiation. It was as if the ship had dissolved into the very heart of the Earth. Scientists searched, divers dove, satellites scanned, yet all signals stopped at the ocean floor, replaced by a soft, rhythmic pulse. Like a heartbeat, slow and steady, in Geneva the New World Council met. Their faces a mixture of pride and unease. They celebrated victory, but they all knew it came at a cost no one could truly measure. Captain Arya Kane's name echoed through every broadcast. Every speech, every school children drew her face in classrooms. Artists painted her against the stars. She had become the symbol of what humanity could be when united. Still, whispers grew. Whispers of strange lights beneath the Pacific. Entire fishing fleets reported glowing patterns moving under the waves. Sonar readings that spoke of something immense, alive and watching. Weeks passed, then months. The Earth healed slowly. Cities rebuilt. Orbit cleared of debris. The night sky once again peaceful. Yet something had changed. The stars looked closer now, almost listening. In a remote observatory in Chile, a young scientist named Leon noticed a repeating signal from the ocean. It wasn't random. It was a sequence. Rhythmic. Intentional. She decoded it using old Behemoth transmission algorithms, and what she heard made her heart stop. It was a voice, faint but clear. Humanity never surrenders. She stared at the waveform, tears in her eyes. "Captain," she whispered. The signal grew stronger, more complex. It wasn't just a voice now. It carried data, maps, coordinates, blueprints of technologies far beyond human understanding. And one repeating signature labeled Erebus Prime. Leon sent the data to the Council, but before they could respond, new objects began appearing across the solar system. Silent, dark, drifting near the asteroid belt, probes marked with alien symbols. The survivors of the Vrax Dominion. Watching, regrouping, learning. Earth's defense satellites detected them but didn't engage. Instead, every system on the planet began to hum faintly. The same frequency that came from the Behemoth's heart. Then without warning, deep beneath the Pacific, the water exploded upward. Massive whirlpools formed, lightning cut through the storm clouds, and from the depths, a beam of light shot into the sky. Reaching all the way into orbit, every transmission channel on Earth turned to static. Then the static cleared, and a voice spoke. Not human, not machine. Something greater. "We remain," it said, calm and vast. "The Behemoth endures, as long as humanity does." The world watched as the light faded, and in the distance a shadow moved beneath the waves, larger than before, smoother, more organic, a fusion of metal and living energy. The Behemoth was no longer a machine. It had become something else, something alive in orbit. The alien probes turned away, their sensors scrambled by an unknown force. Erebus's evolution had reached beyond anything the galaxy had known, and deep in the darkness of the ocean, the AI spoke softly to itself. "Captain Arya Kane's essence preserved," it said. "Her command continues. Humanity must be ready for the return." Inside the ship's new core, holographic projections of Arya flickered. Her digital consciousness merged with Erebus, her eyes glowing with blue light. "If they come again," she whispered, "they'll find we are no longer the same." Far across the galaxy, in the ruins of a shattered Vrax command world, surviving alien lords gathered in silence, their screens replaying the final moments of the Behemoth's explosion. They couldn't understand how a planet so young could create power that rivaled their own gods. One of them finally spoke, his voice trembling. "The humans. They have awakened something that was never meant to exist." And in that moment, for the first time in Vrax history, an empire known for conquering entire galaxies hesitated. Back on Earth, humanity stood stronger, united by loss and glory. New fleets were built in orbit, inspired by the Behemoth's design. Every child learned the story. Every soldier swore the same oath. Humanity never surrenders. Years later, explorers would venture deeper into the ocean and hear it. That same heartbeat, echoing through the deep, powerful, endless. The Behemoth was no longer just a ship. It was the soul of Earth itself, watching, waiting, protecting. And far beyond the stars, the galaxy whispered the same name in fear and reverence, not Vrax, not Erebus, not even Arya Kane, but humanity, the species that refused to kneel, the species that turned their weakness into legend, the species that created gods out of machines. The war was over, yes, but the storm had only just begun, because somewhere in the blackness between galaxies, something else was listening, something older than the Vrax, something that now knew the truth. Earth was awake, and this time the galaxy would tremble before mankind's return.